Hey everyone, and welcome to our August webinar. Today's webinar is an introductory webinar designed to help new users navigate the basics of Grist. So we're going to cover everything today that you need just to get started. Now, immediately following the conclusion of the webinar today, you're going to receive an email with a link to the unedited recording of the webinar. But in that same email, there's actually going to be a link to complete a survey. So this is our first time running this new users webinar, and we'd like to run it regularly and to help new users get started with Grist. So we'd appreciate your feedback in making it better. Please definitely fill out that survey for us. Again, that's going to be in the email with the recording. If this is your first time attending one of our Built with Grist webinars, welcome. We host one each month on different topics. And you can find recordings of all of our previous webinars on our YouTube channel. We do have a dedicated playlist there. I think the name is just Build with Grist Webinars. A recording of this webinar will be available there as well sometime next week. So if you have any questions along the way, please post them in our chat. As you can see, Dimitri is already on top of it. He'll be answering them as we go. Let's get started. Okay, so this is the home page of Grist. This is my team page, Diagon Alley Chamber of Commerce. Now, a lot of you will likely have a team site, not necessarily, but everyone does have a personal site. So a personal site will always start with this @ symbol. Typically, it has your name. It's whatever name you gave when you signed up. Now, this is your personal site, meaning your documents not shared with anyone unless you have gone and added people to them. But I know there's often confusion between, oh, I created this document, but I can't find it. See if you created it in your personal site versus your team site. They'll all be available in the dropdown here in the upper left. You can also click your profile icon in the upper right, has the same list. And so you can add multiple team sites. You'll always have your personal site. You can switch between them. Now, a lot of this will look the same between a personal site and a team site. The only difference, major difference, is that with a team site, obviously you have team members. Okay. So we're just going to work our way around the page. Down here, we have these little folders. Those are what we refer to as workspaces. You can save your documents within these different workspaces to help organize them. You see here on my home page, I'm seeing all documents. So I can see the workspace name and then any of the documents within that workspace. I can also just click into a workspace and only see those documents. Now you can add a new workspace the same way as you would add a new document. You click this green Add New button. You have the option to add an empty document, import documents, and this is where the Create Workspace button lives. So if you want to add more folders, workspaces, you would just do that, give it a name, and now you have a new place to save documents. Now with workspaces, you can manage team access. Just click this green button. There's a couple options. You can rename, you can delete a workspace, and you can manage users. So with manage users, we haven't covered managing the team yet, but we'll get to it. I just want to point out that a workspace inherits access from the team. So anyone on your team would have access to any of your workspaces, but you can change that. Here you'll see inherit access. It's inheriting in full, meaning full access. I can change that to the different options. Let's say I just want to do none. For example, let's say you have a human resources folder and only the HR team needs access. You can go in, change it to none, and then assign just your HR team. So then any documents within that workspace would then be limited based on the access here. So we can also manage our documents from the home page. I'm just going to go to all documents so we see a bunch. You have a couple different views here. You can click the squares and then you have these little icons for the documents, or you can just create a list with the icons. Just hover over them to see the 3-dot icon. You can rename a document. You can move it between workspaces. Remove, pin the document, actually just pins it to the top. So if it's a document you use often, pin it to the top of the page and then it's available. You can also unpin. And then you can manage users. So we just walked through how to change the access to a document. Example, let me rename this to HR to continue our example. Let's say this workspace is just for HR. If I had documents in here, they would be based on this access, and you can change that. But I can manage users on a document as well. And same situation, you can inherit access in full from the workspace, or you can customize your access however you want. So moving down the left-hand navigation panel here, we have a link to our templates. Again, this is from the home page. We have a link to our template gallery. Definitely explore it. We have tons of different templates from grocery shopping to a CRM, anything you need, probably in there. Definitely check it out. It's great also for just seeing how Grist can be used. If you're just new to us and just want to see what you can do, scroll through, open some templates, see what's there. We also have our trash. If you delete a document, it does live in the trash for 30 days before it gets deleted permanently. But if there's something in here you want to delete right away, click the 3 dots, delete forever. Of course, you also have the option to restore. This link to the tutorial, that's our Grist Basics tutorial, this big green block, same thing. If you are completely new to Grist, definitely check it out. We also have our video tour. And then most important, we have a link to our Help Center. That opens this pop-up. You can link to the Help Center. You can link to our community forum, which is great for asking questions. And then you can also search, and it'll search through our Help Center articles. Okay, so let's dive into a new document. We'll click the Add New button, and we'll just create an empty document to start. And this is what your new document will look like. At the top of the page here, we have our little breadcrumbs. You can rename your document up here. And you'll see that updates your URL. The URL does contain the document name. And then this bit at the end of the breadcrumb, that's actually your page name. So your pages are here on the left. They're like the tabs in Excel. And I can rename the page. We'll call it new page. Really creative. And you'll see it updated here on the left-hand side. If you want to rename a table, or a widget is what we refer to them as. This one's a table widget specifically. You just click at the upper left and you can rename the underlying data, which I'll explain later what that means. And then you can also just add a title for that particular widget. And again, we'll cover this a little bit more later. We have more data in there. So again, we're just going to follow along down the left-hand side here. Access rules allow you to limit access to areas of the document. We won't be getting into that today. It's pretty involved, but we do have a couple excellent webinars. So once you get your feet wet in Grist and you want to start exploring access rules and limiting access within a document, just go to our Help Center, search access rules. And we have quite a bit for that. And again, check our YouTube channel as well, and we have some good webinars. Raw data. This is where you can find unfiltered full views of your data. As we go through today, you'll see that you can hide columns in one view, but view the column in another view, and you'll have filtered views. You have so many different views with showing different things. This allows you to come to one place and be like, okay, this is all of my data for this table, all in one place. Document history. We have snapshots, which are like backups of your data. This is a new document, not much has changed. So we do have snapshots, but not a lot different in them. You can click the three dots and you can actually open it. You can compare it to your current. Let's say you delete a column of data by accident and you want to go retrieve it. You can go to a snapshot and restore from the snapshot, or just copy and paste the data into your current document. We also have an activity tab, and this shows roughly the last 100 changes in a document. Now, if you are viewing and selecting a table, it would show you the most recent changes for that table, if there's any in the last 100. You can also click all tables, and then you can see all the changes in the document. It'll tell you who did them and when. Okay, moving through, we have code view. This is just a bit of extra information if you want to see how your document is broken out. It will show functions and formulas in there if you have some in your document. It's not editable, it's just for your information. And then we have our document settings here. This is useful to set a time zone for your document or default currency. API information is in here as well. And then finally, of course, we have access to the Help Center again. So if you need to search anything while you're playing in your document, that information is available to you. Okay, so the last thing I want to do before we jump into adding information is the share menu. And this is how we can do quite a few things. Most importantly, we can manage the users on our document. Just like the workspaces, it's going to inherit access in full, and it's inheriting from your workspace. But you can change that. You can view and edit, view only, none, and then just assign access to team members who should have access to that specific document. You can also give owner, editor, or viewer access. Viewer just means they can view, they cannot make changes. Editor, of course, they can make changes. And then owner means they have full permissions in the document. Oh, one thing else I wanted to point out in here, you can add 2 free guests to all documents. So let me just add a guest at example. So this person is not a member of my team, so they're added as a guest on the document. And then it shows you your guest count, and you can add them as owner, editor, or viewer. And so you get 2 of those per document. So if you have someone from outside of your organization, they can still access, and you can control that access too. Another information that's useful in this dropdown, you can duplicate the document. This creates a copy of the document. They're not linked. So if you're creating a copy of the document, make sure you delete the old copy just so you're not adding information to the wrong place. What's useful here too is you can save it as a template, and you can actually save a copy of the document without any data. So if you wanted to send the structure to someone but without data, this is a cool feature to use. And then the next option is work on a copy, and that lets you work on an unsaved version of the document. If you need to test changes, that's a good way to do it. And then it doesn't affect your live document. So if people are working and you want to go test changes, it doesn't affect them. Download will download your file as a .grist file, meaning it contains the entire structure of your document, all of the formulas, all of the data, everything you need. and you can open that file in an instance of Grist. So if you have self-hosted or desktop Grist, you could open that file there. It's useful if you need to share your document with another person who uses Grist, but maybe they don't use this hosted version at getgrist.com. You can also export as some common spreadsheet file types. So then finally, let's enter some data into our document. Most of you will be importing data from some outside source. To do that, we would go to Add New, and then we can import from a file. You can also import from Google Drive. Again, it works the same. You're just searching for your file in Google Drive rather than on your computer. I'll select my file and then just open, and it's going to import it for me. And so the different tabs in my Excel file appear here. I have 2, and I can choose how to handle each of the tabs. So I can import into a new table, I can skip the import, or I can import into an existing table. But I want all of these to go into a new table, so I don't have to make any changes. And I can import. Okay, and so we see that our basically tabs in Excel appear as pages here on the left-hand side, and all of my data is there. Now you can change the column size by clicking and dragging between columns. You can also rename columns. Just double click on the column header and you can change the column label. You can also add a description if you need to. If you want to add columns, we have this plus icon to the far right of the table. Click, and this is our add column menu. It has a lot of different options. You can add and assign a column type right away. You can also add a formula column. If you just want to add a plain column, just add it. Again, you can double click to rename it. If you want to delete, just right click, delete column. If you want to add a row, you can right click and insert rows above and below, but you can also scroll to the bottom of the table. This blank row is how you would add a row. And just start typing and it creates the new record. If you want to delete, just right click and delete. We do have your normal sort and filter options, and those are available here in this little filter button. You can add a column to your sort. You can add a column to your filter. You can also do this by clicking this little arrow. When you hover over a column header, it appears. You can also right click. The same menu appears, and you can sort the data. So let's say we want to sort by location. We're going to sort A to Z. And then we want to sort the puppies A to Z within that location. We can sort puppy name, but we're going to add it to the sort. And so now they're A to Z within their location. And then you can also apply filters. So if I just wanted to filter by location, just select filter, unselect, close, and now I've got a filtered view. We also have what we call filter buttons, and that's what this green button is at the top. You can pin filters using this pin icon. Now, when you create a new filter, it will automatically pin it. You can unpin, just deselect that pin icon, and it goes away, and then repin. When you are applying sorts and filters, if you want them saved for the future, you just click Save. Just note that this will save for anyone who has access to the document in this view. So it would be available to everyone once saved. If you just want to quickly search without saving it, that's where these filter buttons come in handy. Let me just save with no filter applied, but with the filter button. Now when I come in, I can quickly search just queens, and I can quickly see the dogs for queens. But when someone else comes in, they'll still see all of it because that's not saved. Just the button is saved. Here on the right-hand side is what we call our creator panel. That can be opened and closed with this vertical green button bar. You have two tabs. You have a widget tab. This widget is a table widget. And then you have the column tab, which is column specific. So if you want to change something for the entire widget, that's here under this one's table. For example, if you wanted to hide and hide columns, there's a quick way to do it here. You can deselect the ones you want to keep and hide. I want to select all. I'm going to show them again. So you can hide and unhide from there easily. Under the column tab, you can do things like set formulas. You can change the column type, add styling to your headers, etc. Now, today we're only going to focus on one column type, but I'm going to share a link to our webinar that covers column types. We walk through each different one, but if you prefer to read, just go to our help center and we have an article on our column types. Just search column type. Tons of information will come up for you. So the one column type that we are going to look at today is our reference column type. One advantage Grist has over traditional spreadsheets is that it can relate different tables of data to each other. Reference columns will create those relationships. So here we have a table of dogs with information specific to each dog. And then separately, we have this list of owners and their contact information. It would be useful to link each dog to its owner, which we kind of have. We have an owner column here, but it's not linking to that other table of data. I can convert this owner column in the dogs table to a reference column. And we can do that here in that right-hand creator panel. I have owner selected. And in the column type dropdown, I select reference. Now it finds matching data in the owner's table. And so it automatically suggests that here. And in this case, it is correct. That is what I want to link. So I can click apply. Now each dog is matched to its owner. It's pointing back to the record in the owner's table. And we can see this by clicking on this link icon in the cell. It opens the record from our owner's table. So we can see Cecilia's contact information here. Now, why do I convert this owner column to a reference column rather than this one? It's because you never want data to repeat. Here we see owners' names repeating, whereas in the owner's table, we see an owner's name once. And so we want to point back to this unique record here. Now, there's a couple reasons why reference columns are useful. So first, if you have repeating information within a document, it's hard to keep it all updated and correct. Here in the dogs table, we had owners' names repeating. We also have their phone numbers repeating. And that's hard to keep straight. So let's say their phone number changes. I have to come and find their name everywhere it exists and change their phone number multiple times. And what if you miss one? It means your data is not correct anymore. So by using a reference column to reference back to one single record, we only need to update the information in a single place. So we're just going to update Cecilia's name here. Where is she? There she is. Just delete. We'll just give her a last initial. If I update it here in the owners table, I go back to dogs, I see that it's updated here. It's also updated here in row 8. Anywhere Cecilia's name shows up has been updated. Now you can also pull in more information from that linked record. So here we've got the phone number, but this is just text. It's not pulling from that other table. We want to pull that data in. And so if it gets updated in the other table, it'll get updated here. And to do that, we can just click this Add Column menu. And now we have this option for lookups that we didn't have before. And we want to look up information in this owners table. The information in the square brackets is telling you how it's getting there, and it's getting there via the reference column, which is owner. Specifically, we want to pull the phone number, and so we just select it from the list of columns. And now we have that information in the table. Let's say I want to update Cecilia's phone number. I'm just going to click this link because that takes me back to the record in the owners table. I'll change her phone number here. And now we see it's updated here and here, anywhere that her record is linked. Whereas this data that I imported is not updating because it's not linked to that other table. So we're going to go ahead and delete that column. Yeah, just right click and then delete. Now our reference columns are also useful for linking widgets, which I know someone was asking to demonstrate that. You can add multiple widgets to a page, essentially creating a dashboard. So this here that we see is a table widget. Now it would be neat to see owner information when we select a dog. Instead of having to click this icon to see all of Cecilia's information, what if it was just off to the side here? And we can do that using a linked widget. So to add another widget to the page, or in general, you would just click this Add New button. You have the option to add a page or add a widget to the page. Adding a page would add a new page in that left-hand navigation column. But adding a widget to the page is going to add it to the page that we're looking at, which is what we want. We want to be able to view this table and then see the owner's information next to it. So we'll add a widget to this page. Now we have the option to select a widget. We have a lot of widget types. Definitely check our help center for information on each of them. We are just going to use a card here. A card is useful when you're trying to display one record's information. It's just a cleaner look than a table. We'll see that here in a second. And then you need to tell it what data we want in this widget. We want to see the owner's information. So we want to pull data from the owner's table. Now the select by option appeared. If I select the dropdown, I just have one choice, and that's the dogs table. What this is asking is, do you want to select a value in this table and have your new widget update? And that's exactly what we want. We want to select a value in the dogs table and see that referenced value owner. We'll add it to the page. I'm going to collapse the menu here on both sides just so we have a little more space. And so now I see Cecilia's information here in a card. Now, if I select a new dog, the owner's card updates so that I can see that owner's information. So you see how that updates. And now I can update a phone number here. And you see it updates in our table on the left. Okay, I'm going to share a link now to our reference columns article in the Help Center. And that'll cover everything I just talked about, and then of course more. So the last big topic I want to cover today is summary tables. Summary tables are similar to pivot tables in spreadsheets and let you get table-wide totals and subtotals. So let's say we want to know how many dogs are enrolled in our doggy daycare. A summary table would give us that information. Now to add a summary table, again, we just click this green Add New button to add another widget to our page. In this instance, we're going to leave table as our selected widget. But now we want to create a summary table. To do that, you click this green summation icon to the right of the table you want to summarize. So I want to know how many dogs are enrolled. And so that's just a summary of the dogs table. We'll get into this group by column next. But for now, I just want a table-wide total. Just want to know how many dogs are enrolled in doggy daycare. I can add that to the page. And so I can see that there's 23 dogs enrolled in our doggy daycare. This is just counting how many records are in this dogs table. Now, if you had any numerical columns in your underlying data table, dogs, it would also summarize those too. We don't have any numeric columns, so it's not doing any of that, but it is counting the records for us. And then I did this without thinking. I should have talked you through it. You can move widgets on the page. When you hover over the upper left, these little gray vertical bars appear. You click and then you can drag it. And you see how these blue dotted lines appear. That shows you where it's going to go when you drop it. And then you can just move them around as needed. You can also resize, hover between two widgets, click and drag to resize. Okay. And so we see that our dogs are actually at two different locations. We have a Brooklyn location and a Queens location. A summary table can also tell us how many dogs are at each of those locations. So let's add another summary table. Again, just click that summation icon to the right of the table you want to summarize. And this time we're going to use that group by option. So we want to know subtotals. We want to know how many dogs at each location. We just group by location. We can add it to the page. Again, I'm just going to click and drag to move it and then resize. And now I can see that at the Queens location, I have 11 dogs, and at Brooklyn, I have 12. Now, it would be very nice if I could just select a location and then have this table of dogs update to only show me the dogs at that location. And if you ever need to update a widget that's already existing on the page, you can do that from the Creator panel. We expand the Creator panel, and then we're going to do this from the Table tab. Again, make sure that the table you want to change is selected. Just click into it somewhere to select it, and you'll see the widget title. So I know that dogs is selected. And then you can just change widget. Now I want to change the select by. I want to be able to select a location and then only see dogs for that location. And so we have two tables I could link to, which we have the dogs totals, which is the first summary table we created. And we have dogs by location. I want to be able to select a location. And so we're going to select that summary table. And then we'll just save. And now it's updated. I'm going to move this so we can see it a bit better. Okay. So now when I select Queens, I just see dogs for the Queens location. When I select Brooklyn, I just see dogs for the Brooklyn location. Now, because I already know the location based on what's selected here, I can hide this column. You can right-click on a column and hide it. And that linking still works, even though that column is hidden. Now I can add a new dog. I'm going to add a new dog to the Queens location. So I select Queens and type in a dog name. And you see that my Queens count has now gone up to 12. It's because it's linking that in the background. If I want to see that monster has been added to the Queens location, I can view that raw data. So remember, we kind of touched on it at the beginning. We have this raw data tab. You can also view the same information by clicking the three-dot icon at the upper right of a widget and clicking show raw data. It'll show you the underlying data table for that widget. And here I see that monster was assigned to the Queens location without me having to type. I just had to select Queens and add the dog. And then right now we don't see any owner information for monster, and that's because I haven't added anything. We can double click, and now we can select from the list of owners. And as soon as I select one, the phone number populates, and then the owner's card populates with information. I'm going to share the article to summary tables so you can see more information about summary tables, how to link them, how to create them, and use those group by options. The last thing I want to mention before we wrap up are about formulas in Grist. If you want to enter a formula into a column, I'm going to add a new column here. You just click the equals key and you can start entering a formula. You can use an AI assistant. If you're not quite sure how to write a formula, use the AI assistant and you can just say, I want to find this value times this value, or combine owner name with dog name, and it will do that for you. We do have many Excel-like functions. We have Grist-specific functions, and then we have the entire Python standard library available. So a lot of different things you can do with formulas. The biggest difference between Grist and standard spreadsheets is that formulas apply to the entire column in Grist. So this phone number column is actually a formula column, what we call a dot notation formula. It applies to the entire column. So when I add a new record, like when I added monster, it still applied that formula. There's no need to click and drag and select cells to make your formula work. It will just work on the entire column. So I will share a link to an article on formulas if you'd like to learn more. We do have webinars and plenty of information out there. And if you get stuck while doing stuff, definitely just post to our community forum and we can definitely answer questions there. But that concludes our new users webinar. If you have any questions, of course, please put them in the chat and we can answer them for you. A question about filtering reference choices in a drop-down menu based on another reference column. Yes, and we have an example of this in our help center. Let me find the link to it real quick. Okay, Dominic, I just sent the link in the chat for the article on filtering references. Grist Desktop does not sync with online. They are two completely separate. So if you're using Grist Desktop, click that share icon, download your file, and then you would have to upload it into the other version. So let's say you're working in our hosted version at getgrist.com. You want to move offline to Grist Desktop. You would download it, import it into Grist Desktop, continue working. When you're done, download it, and then re-import it into the hosted version. They are completely separate. Is it possible to set up an info widget like creating a form? Yes. I showed you the card widget. Let's say you want to input dog information using a card. I'm just going to add a new page. We select a card widget. The data we want to enter to is dogs. Add to page. Now it's going to show you each dog as a card. If you want to add a new card, you click the plus icon, and that allows you to start setting up a new dog. And it would add it to your underlying data. If you just want this to show a new record, you can filter it. And then just filter it to none. Let me see. It might get... And then you can type in the information. And then when you come back to it, it would be a blank card again. So for Mark, that would be how you would create form input. You can also use our form widget. Let me get a link to that help article. Okay, Mark, I just sent a link to our form widget article. You can combine, once you set up a form, you could use a custom widget with that link to input data. And I know that there's a community post on that. So search our community as well. And I think I walked through it there somewhere. Question, can pages be embedded into a web page at all? They sure can. We do have an article on that. Alan, I will tag you in that. The community forum, so it is available in your Grist instance. If you're viewing the homepage or a document, it's here at the bottom left, Help Center. And then the community forum is the second link. Dimitri also shared it here in the chat, but you can get to it from within the product. Post your questions there and we can help with all of them. And of course, if you see a question, you know the answer, definitely jump in too. And how often we do this every month. So keep an email or an eye out for those emails. We will send an email letting you know when the next one's coming up. It'll be in our newsletter as well. And then, of course, we post to our community forum too. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.